Today's episode of the Riderflex podcast is sponsored by our friends at Colorado Startups. Their mission is to connect startups with needed capital and talent to build industry-changing companies in Colorado. They are the largest online community of founders in the state and a great resource for local entrepreneurs building a big company. We haven't done that yet, but I wouldn't put it past us if it came up, if the opportunity came up. So, all right, cool. You guys ready to roll?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Marquez and Ondrea.
Yep.
Marquez and Ondrea on the Riderflex podcast. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Good.
Doing great. Can't complain.
I appreciate you being here. Really cool story. I studied you last night. I watched some stuff on YouTube this morning while I was on the treadmill getting ready for the podcast.
Craving a donut while you're working out.
I didn't have a donut this morning, but now that I've seen your products, I'm hoping that I get like a little complimentary basket on my porch after this, maybe a week or so
It's in the
from
mail
now.
already. It's in the mail.
A really cool story. Why don't you tell us about you personally before we get into the business? Maybe Ondrea, you want to start maybe and give us like how about a little personal background, like a little bit about you guys' family stuff, and then maybe roll it into how you met, all the personal juicy stuff before we get into business.
Sure. So I grew up in Nebraska, was born and raised a Husker, went to the University of Nebraska, and kind of traveled around after that. I did some work and lived out on the East Coast for a while and worked mostly in social work. So not much pertaining to food. However, really started to kind of gain that motivated sort of self-employed work ethic, which kind of played into our future as small business owners. But I ended up out in California and met Marquez when I was working at a tech startup there in Silicon Valley.
Oh,
and
that's where the startup juice came from. Is that where the entrepreneurial startup juice kind of hit you when you got to California, or was it already there?
My dad is self-employed. And so I think that I always saw him, trying to manage his time and working really hard. And I was really open to the possibility of, starting our own business, but really the true entrepreneur at heart is this guy. So.
Okay. So your dad, but your dad owned his own business.
Yes, he's a realtor and does, new construction and development. So I definitely saw the hours and hours, not having enough hours in the day throughout my childhood, and sort of learned what it was like to run your own business.
Were you the only child, or did you have siblings?
I have one sister. She and I are only 18 months apart. So she and I are very close. She actually is the reason that I went out to California. She was living in Berkeley, and she and my brother-in-law were both deep in, tech startup land. And they said, there's a lot of opportunity here, so come on out. And then I ended up meeting this guy. So.
I see. Okay. I was wondering, when I saw your LinkedIn profile, I thought, she went to school in Nebraska, but somehow she ended up in Jersey and then California. So I appreciate you walking me through that. Okay. Very good. All right. So, and then what happened? You walked into the office, you saw Marquez, and you're like, oh. Tell us, Marquez.
So I will say, we actually met online.
Mm-hmm.
So that's we're one of those like e-commerce success stories.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, we're not like part of them, but we met online.
Yeah, we're hoping for a sponsorship, but it's so common these days. I don't know if we're going to get it.
Very cool. So you met online. Okay. So what happened? Were you scrolling with your thumb and you see Ondrea? You're like, oh, she's all right. Yeah, I want to talk to her.
Well, that's the point of like, I guess eHarmony is a little bit different. They match you with certain people.
That's right.
Only 3 or 5 a day. I forget what it is, but
that's right. It's not Tinder. I mean, it's not Tinder.
Yeah,
exactly. Not that I know what that is, but it's somebody. Told me about it.
This was pre-Tinder.
Well, okay. So you guys meet online, and then walk us through it a little bit. Like you're working separate places in California. You meet online. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my background is in the medical field. I'm born and raised in Northern California.
Yeah, give us some personal. Go ahead.
Yeah, yep. So I grew up in Vallejo, California. Probably not the not the nicest area to grow up in. So I had a kind of a pretty challenging upbringing. and really had to learn how to work really hard and learn from my father that he was a single father. So worked really hard, and that's where I kind of got my determination and work ethic from my father growing up. But anyways, long story short, went to college initially to play basketball, actually.
Really? Are you tall? Are you a tall guy?
Well, so I played center. I'm 5'5". I played point guard. I played for Dominican University. It's a Division II.
Oh, really? How about that? All right, you went on scholarship then, huh?
A partial scholarship.
All right.
But yeah, I went to school. Anyways, they had a good nursing program, and I said, "Hey, look, I don't know what I'm going to do. Let me go into that." So fast forward a few years later, I'm a respiratory therapist, as well as a nurse. So I have both licenses. I've been an RT now for going on 11, 12 years. But now, like I tell everyone, I sell donuts. So,
so you thought you wanted to be a nurse though for a living?
Yeah, I wanted to be an anesthesia nurse, and I was kind of working my way towards that. Met Ondrea, and then what happened was we were at the gym. We loved to kind of work out together, and so I was at the gym. Literally, I was on the bike doing cardio, scrolling through Instagram, and I follow a bunch of athletes and foodies, and then this random idea popped up of making healthy donuts and shipping it to bodybuilders.
What are you? I'm having this vision. Are you guys like on the bikes, and you're like right next to each other? You're riding the bike, and you're leaning over, like, "Hey, I got this idea." Like, is that how?
She was on the treadmill, and I was on the bike.
Close.
Like literally, that's exactly what happened. And this idea popped up, and when I got done, I ran over her and I said, "Hey, look, I have this crazy idea." And just take a step back, I've always known that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but my goal was to have a stable foundation, a solid background, and be able to fund any startup that I wanted. And that's why I wanted to be an anesthesia nurse, and I was working my way through that.
Okay, so that was the plan early on. You're like, I'm going to be a nurse. I'm going to do this to pay the bills, but eventually I want to start my own thing. You had that plan from the beginning.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And where'd that bug come from? Was that from your father? Was he an entrepreneur, or where'd you get that?
No, you know what? That just kind of grew within me as, being able to learning that, hey, here in America, you can, anything you want to do, essentially, you can do it as long as you work hard, and, you can do whatever you want. And I always knew growing up that I wanted to take care of my family, and be able to, provide for my family.
Okay. I was wondering. Okay, got it. So now before this idea in the gym, when you run over to Ondrea, was there other ideas? Had you started anything else before? Did you have any other experience at being a startup founder?
Yes and no. I would say maybe some of it stemmed off of my first job when I was in college. I worked at a pizza place. It was a family-owned business. I was like, at some point, I was like, hey, maybe I can open up one of my own pizza places like this. And that might have lit the fire in me.
Okay.
But it came out later. Yeah.
All right. So you go over to her in the gym and walk me through the rest of it now. Go for it.
So I tell her, I pitch her this idea, and she looks at me and she goes, "Yeah, sure." And she said, "Cool. I think it sounds good to me."
Sure, honey. Sure, honey.
At that time, we were dating.
Basically.
So we're dating at that time.
Living together? Are you living together yet, or no? Is that too personal?
We weren't living together. I actually had this shoebox apartment because it was, it's Redwood City, California. So I had this little teeny apartment, and I said, well, I have a small stove top, and, we can try to make something work. So literally the next day we went and bought a bunch of ingredients, and we started to experiment in my 600 square foot apartment.
It was like 400 square foot.
Oh, 400.
Now, are either one of you calling your moms and like, how do I make this? Are you a natural cook?
Well, I mean, I looked at it as a chemistry project. So I went on YouTube, found some like generic recipes, and then researched all these different ingredients, and then we started, playing with them. And
you're both working your full-time job, and you're doing this at night and on the weekends, messing around with this.
Yeah.
Plus, there's a chance for you to get closer as a couple because you're in that tiny little kitchen, shoulder to shoulder, making these foods, right? Okay.
I mean, literally, you could probably sit at the edge of her bed and touch the stovetop. It was like that.
And so at first, are you thinking this could be something, or you're like, oh, this is fun? I don't know. We'll see.
I think he, thought the first, I thought the latter, like, oh, this is something cute and fun we can do together. Maybe it'll be a hobby on the weekends. But very quickly I learned that he was really serious about it.
Well, I didn't think I really didn't think it would take off to the extent it did initially. I was actually working 2 jobs at the time. I was working as a nurse and a respiratory therapist, both jobs, as both different. Anyways, so I was working both, and I was, it turned out to be, hey, look, maybe we could do it on the weekends. We'll make some extra cash. We'll
And
have fun.
your friends are like, hey, let's go out tonight. And you guys are like, no, we have to make the donuts. We have to make the donuts.
100%, 100%. And then, that was one of the hardest parts, is sort of you learn that you can't, if you want to start a business, you really can't have it all. You have to sacrifice for your social life. That's just the way it goes.
People just have no idea what the sacrifice level is for startup until they actually do it, right? I don't care how many podcasts they listen to. I don't care how many books they read. Until you live it, you just don't really understand. Okay, so did you go on social media and did you try to get a following before you even had product to sell, or did the social media come afterwards? I'm always curious about that part, on whether or not you tried to get an early following.
Yeah, so that's really important, and that's kind of how we got to this point today. Or how we launched the business. So as we were making samples and things got a little bit serious, we rented a kitchen. We started our Instagram, and social media is so different 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago than it is today. Influencers didn't know they were influencers back then. It seriously is so different back then. The algorithm with Instagram, all of Facebook, all of that was very different. So we started our Instagram. We, number one, we wanted is 2 things. We wanted to start to grow our following immediately before we even launched the business. We wanted people to get excited about this new product, this new idea. And then we wanted feedback from bodybuilders. So we sent our product, we reached out to all these bodybuilders, and we reached out to people that had 5,000 followers, 10,000, and got responses back and said, hey, like, yeah, I'm interested. I'll try your product. I'll get feedback. And we sent 10 packages out first month, and then sent some more, and then got feedback, improved the product. And over the course of 3 months, we before we even made our Instagram account live, or more so public, we had about 5,000 followers, because we had all these influencers or athletes talk about this new product they're trying out, and they would give we had people that like were requesting to follow us. And then we set a date, say, hey, look, we're going to make our Instagram live. And when we made it live, we instantly had 10,000 people following us.
Oh, fantastic. Great idea. Now, were you selling product at that time? Were you already selling product? No. Wow. So wow. Now there's a lesson for the listeners. Let's just take a pause right there. They got their social media following going before they even announced their Instagram page or made a big deal about it. And they weren't even selling product yet. Get a following on social media if you have some sort of product business, whether it's food or CPG or whatever. So critical. Great job on that. Great move. So who was managing the social media, Ondrea? Who was the social media captain?
Marquez is. Yeah, 100%. I can't look at my phone that much. It gives me a headache.
Okay, so you got your social media going. You're perfecting your ingredients. You're getting a fan base. You're starting to think, damn, we got people following us here. Like, this could do something. Okay, walk me in, Ondrea, walk me into the next phase. Like, walk me into revenue phase. The first time somebody said, I want to buy your product, and you sold something, you got your first check.
Well, we got to, before you get into that, we got engaged.
Oh, that happened in there. Okay.
Yeah, I got to throw that in there.
Yeah, we actually got engaged. We were in Hawaii when we launched our store and opened our Instagram. So we got engaged 2 days before that. And then I remember sitting in this Airbnb looking out at the beach, and we're like watching our phone just bling, 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 bling. Like all these people. Yeah, it was surreal. It was a surreal experience. Now,
did you plan that out, Marquez? Did you plan that out? Like
every piece of it. Yeah, for sure.
Will you marry me? Like kneeling down on the beach in Hawaii, like the whole thing.
Yep. And then 2 days later, all right, we started this business. We're all in it together now. There's no going back. You said,
wow. That's pretty cool.
The tip for your listeners, get a ring on it, and then, let her know you're going into this for good.
Now, you didn't quit your jobs yet, did you?
No.
Okay.
No, very shortly thereafter, Marquez quit his job at the hospital. And then a year later, I was able to kind of go part-time with my job.
So you're in Hawaii, you propose, you launch your business. Now, when you say you heard the social media bell, ding, 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 are those sales or are those likes or followers, or what was that at the time?
It started out as followers because we just opened, but I believe, did we open the store the same day we opened our Instagram?
No,
I
so
think
we
it was shortly
we did
thereafter.
something where we wanted to generate hype and then also
Mhm.
control like how much we can sell and keep up with it. So
Good job.
we started like anyway. So what we did was we said, hey, we're opening our Instagram. We're gonna start to take orders on this day, and that was about 2 weeks later. So we
Okay.
started telling everyone for 2 weeks, hey, we're gonna open up our store on Thursday at 8 a.m. And so we started doing that. We started letting everyone know, sending packages to influencers or bodybuilders at that time, and Thursday, 8 a.m. we're opening the store. Thursday, 8 a.m. So then 2 weeks later, we opened the store at 8 a.m. and we actually got like 10, 15 orders that day. And we're like, wow, look at this. We just made a couple $100.
Okay. So 10, 15 orders your first day. And were you still working your other job, Marquez?
Yeah.
Were you still working? Okay.
Yes. Yep. So we were doing that. And then, so to quickly walk you through the next maybe 6 to 8 weeks,
Yeah.
we would do the same thing. We would take orders every Thursday, and then we'd make those orders on Sunday all day, ship them on Monday, and then open the store back up on Thursday.
That life right there is exactly why your website is built like it is, with the little tick bar that says when will we launch our products next, or when will we ship next. That
Yep.
came from that early life. Okay.
Yes.
I
That
was
actually,
wondering.
that's been on there since day one, actually.
I figured that's what I had something to do with that. Okay, very good. All right. Let's fast forward a little bit here to the day you decided to quit your job. I'm curious about that. Was that a little scary? And what were you doing in revenue?
So at that time, so we did it in steps, right? So we didn't just quit one day. I went from working 2 jobs to working 1 job to then going part-time and then per diem, and then no more hospital. Or I still did it every once in a while because it's a passion of mine and I didn't want to lose my skills. And
Okay.
I was able to work once every 2 months or something like that. But
Oh, okay.
I would say we from week 1 to week 4, it went from 15 orders to 30 orders to 40 orders to 60 orders. And then one morning, after kind of getting that out there, we opened the store and we had like 60, 70 orders within the first hour.
And you're like,
And then that's I was taking her to
shit.
work actually in the morning. And all these orders I said, oh, I might, that we might actually have something here. And let me, maybe I'll put nursing on hold and I'll still do respiratory therapy. And then
because you're still making the product from your kitchen at that time.
We were renting
a commercial kitchen.
You were renting a commercial kitchen at that time. Okay. But still, that's the moment, the moment you got like 60 orders in the first hour, you're like, oh shit. Okay. Yeah, this could be something.
Yeah. And then it got to a point that next week, hey, we can only make 2,000 donuts on a Sunday. We have to limit how much we're selling. So eventually we got to a point 2 months later where we try to, get as many friends and family to help us out in the kitchen, start early and late, and that's all we can make. And we put all of our inventory up on Thursday, and then we sell out 8 hours, and then 6 hours, and then 2 hours, and then 1 hour. And then to fast forward, and we started looking for a co-packer.
Did you even know what a co-packer was at the time? Where you're like, co-packer, what's that?
Yeah. Thank God for the internet.
Yeah.
And now you are a co-packer yourself, I saw on your website, but we'll get into that in a second. Okay, so you start looking for a co-packer. All right. Wow, now you're moving along. Okay. Was it you bootstrapped it, right? Like you didn't raise any cash. It's total bootstrap yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't even have a credit card for the business for the first, 6 months. We were so scared. We were like, okay, we've got to just, make this work. And so we were very conservative in the beginning.
What about all the health rules and the FDA and all these other things when you were like shipping those cookies from your personal kitchen? What about all that? We don't want to talk about that.
Well, we did
complied. We complied. We're not going to get in trouble because we made sure we went to a commercial kitchen. We got what we needed to do. So yeah, we shipped from our home, but once we started selling them, we made sure that we were in a kitchen. So everything was sanitary. Okay.
When did Ondrea quit her job?
It was in April of, was it the first year of business? I think so. It was like at our 1 year mark of being a business, because after about 6 months, I went part-time with my job. Okay. And then at a year, I put in my resignation and we were all in.
Now, see, I just want to take a pause for the listeners. So many of our listeners, they're always like, how'd they do that? How'd they get there? How'd they get to the scary parts? Well, if you really listen to their story, first, Marquez went back to one job and then to part-time and then quit. And then Ondrea kept her job and then went part-time and then quit. You did it in stages and you bootstrapped, right, the whole thing. So you didn't have to raise cash from the beginning. You started selling it out of your house. I mean, this is the classic story of how you really should build it instead of coming up with an idea and going out to San Francisco and thinking somebody's going to write you a check for $10 million, because it usually doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's so true.
Ondrea, for the listeners that have no idea what we're talking about, and I want to get into the Shark Tank and the bankruptcy and stuff like that, but for the listeners that have no idea what we're talking about right now, just give us the 3-minute elevator pitch for what the dough bar is. Just give us a nice overview. Go for it.
Sure. Oh, you're putting me on the spot. Okay. No, so what we sell at the dough bar, initially our first product was protein donuts. So if you'd rather have something sweet and tasty with protein in it than a shake after the gym or a protein bar that's dry and doesn't taste good, what we offer you are baked protein treats. So not only donuts, but now we have monkey bread, we have whoopie pies. We give you an alternative to be able to enjoy the sweet treats that you traditionally would love, but get that added protein in there. So it's a great alternative to your sugary, crazy treat, or a really unappealing protein shake.
And it's doughbardonuts.com, right? If you want to get the product. Now, can you only order from your website, or can you order from Amazon or anything else, or can you buy it retail? Go give me that, Marquez. Maybe you can walk me through that.
From here.
Yeah, sure. So the last part of that is we ship it directly to you. So you place an order, we'll ship your order within a couple days, and you'll get it within 2 to 3 days after that. We'll ship right to your door via USPS. So right now we are solely just online direct to consumer. We have a couple different things that we're working with Amazon that we're hoping to launch soon.
Good for you.
But as of right now, go to our website, doughbardonuts.com, and that's DOUGHNUTS.com. So some people spell donuts the other way, but we spell the traditional way. So.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. If you start shipping on Amazon, you could triple your business overnight. Now I realize that eats into your margins, but still your volume could explode.
Yep.
Okay. The first thing I do as a consumer, anytime I come across a cool product like yours, I'll check out the website and I'll be like, oh, this is cool. And then I'll immediately look to see if it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
Well, you want it prime too. And that's a big deal. If you can get it in 2 days. So
you don't want to do brick and mortar. You don't want to wholesale to retailers.
We started in the beginning. So the biggest thing, the reason why Amazon retailers, is the perishability of our donuts. They're highly perishable. So they're freshly baked and they go bad within anywhere from 7 to 9 days, depending on what product you get.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep. So it's kind of essentially made to order. We ship right away.
You have to put them in the freezer. They last a long time, but you've got to get them in the freezer at a certain amount of time.
Then why not sell them in the frozen section for grocery stores?
No, that's a great question. Yeah, that's something. Initially, right when we aired on Shark Tank, we had so many retailers ask us, "Hey, we'll put you in the bakery section. We'll put you here." And we made a decision back then to keep our business online, direct to consumer. Keep all of our. If it wasn't broken, we said, "Hey, look, let's try to continue this path until we can't anymore, and then explore other options."
Okay. How many employees today?
About 25.
Wow. Not only did you start a business and get married and do all these fun things together, then you learned how to be CEOs and actually learned how to have employees.
That adds a whole new element.
Andrea's background when she worked for startup was in HR and recruiting. So.
Oh, really? Okay, very good. All right, so you had a little experience there.
Yeah, you know something about that.
Yes, I know a little bit about that here at Riderflex. Do you want to share volume, or you don't want to go into revenue volumes on the show? Maybe
I'll quickly touch on that. So, and I think it's really important too to for entrepreneurs to hear, hey, what'd you do your first year, and what'd you do there? So, from June of 2015 to the end of the year, we did $80,000 in sales. That's selling 1 day a week, with us kind of being strapped with product, being in the kitchen. And then we started with our co-packer literally in January, the year after.
Were you super worried, by the way, the co-packer was going to mess up your food?
Oh, yeah.
I want to come back to, don't let me forget. I want to come back to the revenue, but right there, I just want to stop you because anybody that makes a food product, as soon as they hand that ingredients and instructions to a stranger, it's like, ooh, they're going to, wait a minute. Don't mess up my brand.
Oh, yeah. It's a dream come true, and it's your worst nightmare at the same time, because it just speeds the process up like none other. But like you said, it's out of your hands a bit at that point. So
you know how I can relate to that as a recruiting firm. When Riderflex first started, I did all the recruiting myself, and then I started handing those jobs to recruiters, right? And I'm handing my brand to someone else, going, "You better not mess this up."
Yeah, scary.
Sorry, Marquez, I got off track, but go ahead. On the revenue.
So the next year we had a co-packer, and we essentially had unlimited inventory, and we were able to pull in about $500,000 that next year.
Wow. How about that? Well, then you're like, oh, okay, we got ourselves a business here. Now
that's when we both quit our jobs, and we went all in, and we kind of upgraded from her 400 square foot studio, and then we actually got married. Then we had a townhome, and then we were actually still shipping out of our townhome for a little bit, actually, when we first started. I do want to say also we had great mentors along the way in the beginning. That's something that's really important. Talk to other entrepreneurs. Had a great mentor, which is actually Ondrea's her CEO, a classmate of her CEO, and so he was actually an investor as well. So he had great knowledge on, hey, what are you doing? You don't need a facility yet. Keep shipping out of your apartment. You don't need to hire anyone yet. Continue. If you think you're tired, go a little bit longer, and really, so he pounded that into, he's like, selling t-shirts. What the hell are you doing selling t-shirts? Focus on your donuts. Stuff like that. Like, someone starts a business. Ooh, I want to make t-shirts, and stuff like that. Don't continue what you're doing. Make it yourself. You think you're tired, you're not tired yet.
You're so right. Great advice. Good mentors are hard to find, and once you do have them, make sure you listen, pay attention. Those all good advice from that mentor. What are you going to do in revenue this year, you think?
So this year we're looking at probably about 1.5. Okay. I can quickly walk you through the year. So first year 80,000, next year $500,000. The year after that was about 900,000. Then we went on Shark Tank in 2018. We pulled in $2.1 million in sales that year from Shark Tank.
That was your biggest year?
That was our biggest year. And then 2019, we did about 1.3. That was the big move, and talk about a roller coaster. That was probably the lowest of lows. And then now this year we're about 30%. We're going to do a lot more than last year. So
how do you go from being on Shark Tank to doing $2 million and being on Shark Tank to filing bankruptcy? Give me the short version.
So we had a lot of working capital, and we said, hey, look, what are we going to do with this? How are we going to scale this business even more? We're first things first. Hey, we're in Northern California. We're shipping all across the country. We said, hey, let's move a couple states over to Colorado. It will help with shipping, help with taxes, cost of labor, cost of living, all of that. We thought bringing production in-house would be great. We can control inventory, quality, all of that. So we remodeled. We went from a 2,000 square foot warehouse to a 5,100 square foot facility that had offices, a retail front. We built a kitchen, a little bit of logistics and warehouse. Completely gutted. It was a $500,000 job, and construction went 2 months late. We had both facilities open at one time. Bought a bunch of equipment, some overages, ate into our working capital really quick. We thought we needed a bridge loan, turned into 2 or 3, and then sales. It took us a while to kind of get back on our feet and focus on what we do well. We kind of lost track of that. And sales started to dip a little bit, and our loans started to eat us from the inside out.
Bummer. Now, what was Barbara saying? Now, wasn't Barbara your investor on Shark Tank?
Yes, Barbara was our investor. Barbara, we really loved working with Barbara. She gave us a lot of autonomy, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to work with her, because she always worked under the philosophy, you know your business better than I do. And she, was supportive in all the decisions we made. But when we decided to move, she told us this is risky, and but she left the choice to us, and we were so appreciative of that. And so, at the same time, she did give us her true opinion. But once we made the move, we had to learn for ourselves. We still feel like it was the right move for the business, but it did it set us back a lot.
Well, but you're here now.
Yes.
When did the bankruptcy happen?
Last November was when we filed for bankruptcy.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to make it.
11, and we, long story short, we thought it was the end of the road. We actually threw the towel in.
Oh, you did?
Personally.
We thought it was it. We were looking at attorneys, and then we somehow got connected with a great attorney, a bankruptcy attorney, grabbed the towel, threw it back in our face and said, what the hell are you guys doing? This isn't the end. You guys have a lot more left. And a year later, we're still here. We're still here.
Hey, congratulations. You're still here. So you're still there, and you're going to do how much this year, you said, again, in revenue? What are you projecting?
A little bit over 1.5.
Hey, you got a $1.5 million business. Yeah, you're dealing with the bankruptcy and the problems that causes, which is a whole nother episode we could talk about. But so you're dealing with that, but you got a $1.5 million revenue stream. You're paying yourselves from it. You live in Colorado, which is, by the way, a pretty cool place to live, even though we're having a bunch of fires right now.
Yeah.
I mean, so you got the move done. Do you wish you hadn't done the move, or are you glad you did?
Oh, it's 50-50. It's what it is. Like, we can't go back. I do think about it like, hey, if we would have stayed in California, didn't have to, we could have used that capital for a big retail push, or, kept our co-packer. I don't know. There's a lot of what ifs, but we learned a lot. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you learned a ton, and you got the move done. No, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. Something was meant for you guys to be here right now in Colorado. I don't know. Maybe you don't know what that is yet, but there's probably a reason. Let me ask you this: is Barbara still involved? Does she still own a piece? And how much does Shark Tank own?
So Shark Tank owns nothing. That's a myth. Well, actually, no, it was true. So I'll clarify this for people. So for the first year or two with Shark Tank, they had it in their clause that they would own 2-3% of your business if you were to go on the show. Mark Cuban hated that, didn't like it. He said, if you want me on the show, you need to get rid of it. They got rid of it. So
I see. Okay.
The first 3 seasons, I believe they did that.
Okay.
Barbara, in some way, is still a part of the business. I won't go into details. But she is in some ways some part of the business. We still have a relationship with her. And yeah.
Well, hey, you've made it through some tough things already. I'm proud of you for making it this far. People that listen to this show have just really, a lot of them have no idea how hard it is to start a business. It's even harder to start one and then go through bankruptcy and keep it going. And, oh, by the way, keep your marriage going happily as well.
Yeah.
We have a 3-year-old too now, so that keeps us really busy.
Was there some times, Ondrea, were there a few times? I mean, I don't want to get too personal, but I'm just guessing during the bankruptcy and you got a brand new baby, you're looking at Marquez and you're like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I mean, there had to be a few of those.
Well, I think, in regard to the business, sometimes we think about the healthcare field and just how stable that might be in comparison to what we're doing. But we are also believers that everything happens for a reason and that we are in this place at this moment for a reason. So we're going with it and just doing the best that we can. And it's been that way through all the ups and the downs.
Okay, very good. Well, I appreciate you sharing all that personal stuff. By the way, I didn't ask about the product a whole bunch. I want to ask you this. So it still has the same calories that a normal treat would have, but it has the protein too, or it is less calories on average? Can you walk me through just a little bit of that real fast?
It depends on the product.
Okay.
I think you could probably speak more to, I know for the donuts, it depends how you prepare it, because what we do is we ship you the glaze and the topping in its own package. So that way you can warm up the donut plain, which it does come with the donut hole too. So we think that's kind of a fun
Okay.
signature part of what we do. And then we give you all the nutritional facts for the glaze and topping separately. So folks can decide how much or how little they want to add. The donut itself, though, I mean, it has 4 grams of sugar. It's very, you know, it's much lower calorie, and there's much less fat because it's not fried. So, yeah.
It's comparable to a typical protein bar with the macros and everything. And
I hope it tastes better than a protein bar.
You know, that's the thing.
It does.
You know, if we put a protein bar in front of you versus 1 or 2 of our donuts, what would you choose? That's really, if you're looking at this like, hey, cool, I'm going to eat a regular donut. No, it's, you know, you're going to set yourself up for failure. Although there's people that just can't have high fat, oily foods, like donuts, like fried donuts. They'll have our donuts and it's like, hey, this is great. I can actually have this and feel good after, because I can't have the oily, greasy fried donuts.
Very good. I appreciate it. You going into some detail on the product. I'll have to try some for sure. I'll make sure I send you my mailing address afterwards.
Definitely.
Try some. So I know we're almost out of time. We booked an hour here. Let me ask 2 more questions, one for each of you. Let's see, Ondrea, let's start with you. If you had to define your core purpose in life outside of your son and husband, so away from family, what is your core purpose right now?
Oh, that's actually, you got me. Hard-hitting question. No, I would say just love God and love others, period. You know?
We need more of that. We need more of that right now, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
right.
It.
It's so interesting you say that. I just went on a nice little family deal a month ago with my kids, and I have 2 stepchildren and 2 of my own. But anyway, my stepdaughter, she told me, she goes, I just want to spread love and joy, and I just want to make sure everybody's happy. And I looked at her and I said, man, we need a lot more of that right now in this country. A lot more of that.
Definitely. Preach.
Right. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Did I raise you? That's cool. I'm glad you said that. Marquez, how about you? I got a question for you here. If you could go back now and talk to yourself at 18 years old, before you went to school, maybe you're graduating high school, right before you went to college, what would you tell that young man now, knowing what you know?
I'm a believer of, like, whatever, I wouldn't be who I am today without going through what I've been through before.
Okay.
After high school, I really learned how to grind even more since I was on my own. I would tell him, I don't know what I would tell him, just to continue to keep doing whatever, because I know what I did back then was it made me who I am today. If I didn't go through what I went through back then, we probably wouldn't be here. I might not have met Ondrea. I probably wouldn't have been in the medical field. I might have been working retail like I was doing in college. And but I would just say continue to work hard and keep the what's the saying?
Keep the faith.
Yeah.
keep the faith.
Marquez isn't one for role play.
Yeah,
I'm the actress, okay?
No, like, I had a goal, right? So I had a goal of being able to take care of my family. And I would tell myself, just keep that in mind and work even harder and strive for that, because it will come true. And hard work pays off. You're
the only guy I've ever met that sells treats for a living, but can also save lives.
That's so great.
Oh, yes. Definitely done CPR a number of times.
That's pretty cool. You guys have a great story. Thank you so much for being on the Riderflex podcast.
Thank you. We had a great time. This is one of the more fun podcasts we've been on, so it's great.
I appreciate it. If you think today's tip or guest interview can help someone you know, please share this with them. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. If you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to hit that little bell next to the subscribe button so you can be notified when we release a new episode. Our show features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviews. You can visit riderflex.com to learn more about us, and get information on the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great day.